Hi, I'm Ardy Abello and I'm a leadership coach for almost 30 years, guys. So I started my career when I was 10 years old. No, joke lang. I spent years helping professionals navigate through their transition from doing the work to leading the team. And, I've seen it all over the years, the awkward first feedback session, the fear of delegating, the quiet panic of asking, am I doing things right? And here we will talk about all of that and more. This show is for people who were great at what they did, then suddenly found themselves leading a team. Maybe you didn't ask for it, maybe you weren't trained for it, but you're here. So, welcome to Accidental Manager Checklist. So, let's talk about something no one tells you when you get promoted. Being great at your job isn't the same as being ready to lead. Most of us were promoted because we delivered results. We hit the numbers. We stayed late. We worked throughout the night just to get things done. We did the work and we did it well. So, naturally, when people know of others who do great work, what do? They start promoting them. They say, let's make this person a leader. Let's make this person a manager so that he can lead the team towards better productivity. But because essentially that's what leaders do. They spot the good talent and they find out what they do well and then they promote them. But here's the thing. Leadership is a whole different skill set. And most first-time managers realize only after they've stepped into the role. It's pretty much like parenting. You don't know much how to parent until you start having kids. And if you have 5 kids like me, you will learn a lot of lessons with those 5 kids. So it's pretty much like that. When you step into the role of a manager, it's like you're taking care now of a bigger team or of different people. So you kind of learn on the job. Here's something that might surprise you. It's not just the first-time managers who feel like imposters. According to a study by Forbes, 242 people in leadership roles found that nearly 80% reported strong imposter feelings, like worrying their success was due to luck or fear that I'll be found out. And here in the Philippines, PwC's latest Workforce Hopes and Fears report says 69% of Filipino employees felt they experienced more change at work in the past year than ever before. That kind of change without enough support often leads to doubt, anxiety, and feeling unprepared. So imagine this, you're performing well, delivering results, and then you get promoted into leadership. Suddenly you're asking yourself, am I really cut out for this? I'll share a little story with you about someone that I coached. The first time I coached her, she was so sure about her decisions when it comes to her team, and because of her performance, she got promoted and is now a manager. Now, during our coaching sessions, she would talk about her achievements, how proud she was. Of course, those are all her achievements due to her performance. But at some point, she would always second guess herself. If she would be doing the right thing, making the right decisions, you know what I mean? She would say something, she was so sure of it at the start, and then she'll take 2 steps back and say, is it the right decision? Am I considering all options? It happened several times, so I asked her why she felt that way or where did it come from. And she said that she was used to reporting to someone higher than her manager, who would give her feedback, who would give her advice, who would sometimes even correct the course of action. But now, she is now the manager, she's now the leader, and she found herself missing that interaction. She found herself missing that feedback, a sounding board, someone whom she could bounce off her ideas and her thoughts with. Because she was the one now whom became the sounding board for others. She went from being sure to constantly second guessing her abilities to lead. Now, let me ask you, does that sound familiar? Here's what changed. She moved from being a doer to being a leader. And those are 2 very different things. And let me show you 3 ways by which they are different. Number 1, doing the work versus enabling others to do the work. As a performer, top performer, you're always measured by your output. That's doing the work. When you become a leader, though, or a manager, it's your responsibility or our responsibility now to enable others to do the work. So you're not just concerned about your output, you're also concerned about other people's output. Which leads me to number two. When you're a top performer, you control the outcome versus developing others to deliver the outcome. When you develop people, you're not just looking at their performance, but you're also taking a look at their welfare, how good they are, how are they. The third one is being measured by output versus being measured by influence. The saying goes, you cannot monitor what you can't measure. And so when you're measured by your output, this means that these are the things that you're supposed to be monitoring so that your performance improves over time. When you're being measured by influence, it's kind of tricky. Why? Because sometimes influence can't be quantified. People don't know how much influence you have. And by the way, influence, when you talk about leadership, is not just about position, title, or rank. Even today, when you look at social media, you have what you call influencers. They don't have positions, titles, or ranks, but their influence reaches many, many others. There you can measure through what? Likes, follows, views, and that's normally what leaders are measured by, the ability to influence others. The shift is not smooth for everyone. That in-between phase, it's hard. The biggest challenge for new managers is usually not the professional skills, but it's the people skills. Most new managers experience silent struggles, the things that don't make it into the job description, like not knowing how to give feedback, not knowing how to delegate, feeling isolated now that you're the boss, quietly thinking, am I even doing the right thing? As a new manager, this shift can feel jarring. So you might feel like you're no longer productive, but your job now is to help others succeed, and that takes a different kind of work. Now, according to a study by the Center of Creative Leadership, here are a few struggles almost every new manager faces. Number one, not knowing how to give feedback without sounding harsh. We know for a fact that sometimes it's not the heart, but it's the delivery. It's not the intention, but it's the delivery. You may mean well by giving constructive feedback, but if you deliver it in a different manner, with a tone of voice, a strong tone of voice, a high-pitched voice, then it can come out harsh to people. The choice of words. How do I tell someone something that will allow them to improve because they've made a mistake by using the right words? That's sometimes the challenge of managers. But remember this. I learned this from a coach of mine from way back, several years back. I was being given feedback as I was presenting. As a speaker, I was presenting. And the feedback didn't sit well with me. And so during the break, my coach came up to me and said, I noticed that when you were being given feedback, it wasn't sitting well with you. I said, yeah, you read me all too well, because we had become friends. He wasn't just a coach, but he also became a friend. And he was saying, feedback is very simple. Don't take it personally. I said, yeah, but it's tough. And he said, I know it is. But just think of feedback as a data point. And whatever you do with data will depend on whether you succeed or you fail. Because every feedback that's given to you, whether positive or negative, whether constructive or otherwise, is only a data point. Don't take it personally. Then it doesn't sound harsh to you. It doesn't sound like an affront to you. But take it like data. Easier said than done, of course, but, it must be done. Number two, struggling to delegate because it's faster if I do it myself. It's one thing to entrust something to someone. But remember, when you trust work to someone, entrust 100%. Be concerned about the output, not just the process. Why? Because if you're concerned about the process, you will be what you call a helicopter manager, where you'll be hovering around the person that you've been giving the work to and start to point out or nitpick what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. So delegate. When you delegate, make sure that people know the output, they know when you're expecting the output, and then just let them go. In fact, I attended a course on Drive by Daniel Pink in Florida many years ago. And Drive is a book written by Daniel Pink, which is the subtitle is The Amazing Truth About What Motivates People. And apparently there are three things that motivate people. Number one is purpose, being part of something bigger than themselves. Number two is mastery, the ability to become better at what you do best. And number three is autonomy. In other words, giving me the work or giving people the work and then letting them fly. Just so as long as you're clear about what's expected of the work to be done. Number three is about feeling unsure around older, more experienced, more tenured teammates. If you take a look at corporate Philippines today, there are three generations. There's the Gen X, mga batang 80s like myself, the white-haired guys and girls sometimes. Then you have millennials and you have Gen Zs. But if you take a look at leadership positions within those organizations, there are times where maybe a millennial will be leading a Gen X or even a Gen Z leading a millennial, and there are people in their teams who are also Gen Xers. So there's that feeling of being unsure around older or more tenured teammates. But it's important also for us older people to understand that there are many and better ways, and we can learn from the younger ones. I'm speaking to the older generation just like myself. There are many ways by which we can learn from the younger ones because the world belongs to them. It no longer belongs to us. Just take, for example, technology. In technology, the younger generation are now born into the digital age. They are digital natives. Guess what? We are digital immigrants. We're moving into their world. And so we have to learn that there are also things, many, many things that we can learn from them. Number four is trying to earn respect while still learning the ropes yourself. Remember, respect is not demanded, but it is earned. And how do you earn respect? Is by giving respect. And there are many things, even to the older ones, the older, more tenured ones, you give respect to them, not just because they're older, but because they're people. Value, people of value, regardless of who they are. Respect, once you give it, it will always come back to you. If any of these four sounds like you are not alone. Now, here's a checklist you can start using to grow as a leader. Ready na kayo? Here we go. Number one, acknowledge the shift. Because there is a shift. Acknowledge the shift in your role. Acknowledge the shift in the way you lead. Don't just acknowledge it, embrace it. The sooner you embrace something, the sooner also you will change. You're no longer just doing the work. You're shaping how others do it. Number two, ask for feedback. Not just from your boss, from your team. What do they need from you? Let me share something along these lines. Peter Drucker says, when you go to work every day, ask yourself two questions, or ask two questions every day. First question is, what information does my team need from me? What information? Whether it's a decision they need from you, whether it's a piece of information that only you have access to? What information does my team need from me? And go give that. Because if you do that, you won't have to answer question number 2, which is question number 2 is, what information do I need from my team today? Because if you're able to answer question number 1 or give question number 1, guess what? There will be conversation. There will be interaction. There will be feedback. And we all know to build a healthy team, communication is important. It's communication, communication, communication. Next is lead with empathy. You don't have to know everything, but you do have to care. And when I say care, it's not not that kind of care. It's care that I care enough that I'm here to help you succeed in your career. I care enough that I care about the quality of work that you do. That's what I mean when I say care. It's genuine care. As John Maxwell said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Now check one thing at a time. Growth isn't instant. You build it over time. Let me share with you one law from the 17 Invaluable Laws of Growth by Dr. John Maxwell. He says there, it's the law of intentionality. And the law of intentionality is a short law, but it has so much impact. It says growth doesn't just happen. In other words, you have to be intentional. Growth doesn't just happen, you have to be intentional. During my time, I went into the fashion industry many, many years ago. I designed and produced men's shirts. And during the time, a round neck shirt like this, there is what we called free size. Because people liked wearing their shirts loose. Free size. So it's also called unisex, meaning men and women can wear that same shirt. Because it's just one size. So that's why we had one size fits all. That was back in the day. It was so easy to produce clothes during that time because one size fits all. Today, if you go to, you go to the department store or you go to a specialty store, what are the sizes that you see? You see extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, plus size. So when you think about it, everybody has their own way by which they want to be led. So one size doesn't fit all. You have to cater to them in their specific need. If this felt like your story, then welcome. You're exactly who this show is for. This is the Accidental Manager Checklist. I'm Ardy Abello. Let us know what you've learned from this episode by commenting below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow. And remember, leadership looks different for everyone. But, a checklist does help. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next episode.